Okay, so it seems that Desantis has finally came out and spoke about the issue regarding Trump and the indictment, and I do like what he said. I think more or less that he has dodged a bullet, and it's not one that's being fired by Trump. It is one being fired by the sort of Soros-funded DA and media that is surrounding the entire situation. And I don't think that DeSantis needs to get himself involved in it. I think other people may feel the same way, that Trump is completely capable of taking care of himself. And this is just some small frack wall that's going to create a sort of January 6th response, I think, is what people are hoping for by making this arrest. But I advise strongly advise, don't take things to that level. Do not take things to that level, because I think that's what it's really about, is stirring people up and getting them to have that sort of reaction. Because when it comes to them, it's not like BLM, it's not like Antifa. They'll fucking arrest you. they'll let anyone else do whatever the fuck they want, but they'll throw you in prison and lock you away for 4 to 7 years. Just look at the QAnon shaman. He didn't even really do anything other than trespass on Capitol property, and he's been locked up for 7 years because of that. So just throwing that out there. But he did make his response, and I'm very satisfied with it. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I don't want to see the Republican Party split, and I think that is another objective from all of this, is that they want to split the party. So Trump will run as a third-party candidate, and from that point on, there will no longer be any sort of Republican Party to return to. I sort of think that is what is going on. But let's just watch this video real quick.
But I do know this: the Manhattan District Attorney is a Soros-funded prosecutor, and so he, like other Soros-funded prosecutors, they weaponize their office to impose a political agenda on society at the expense of the rule of law and public safety. He has downgraded over 50% of the felonies to misdemeanors. He says he doesn't want to even have jail time for the vast majority of crimes. And what we've seen in Manhattan is we've seen the crime rate go up, and we've seen citizens become less safe. And so you're talking about this situation with, and look, I don't know what goes into paying hush money to a porn star to secure silence over some type of alleged affair. I can't speak to that. But what I can speak to is that if you have a prosecutor who is ignoring crimes happening every single day in his jurisdiction, and he chooses to go back many years ago to try to use something about porn star hush money payments, that's an example of pursuing a political agenda and weaponizing the office. And I think that that's fundamentally wrong. I also think it's important to point out, when you're talking about these Soros-funded prosecutors, yes, they may do a high-profile politicized prosecution, and that's bad, but the real victims are ordinary New Yorkers, ordinary Americans in all these different jurisdictions, that they get victimized every day because of the reckless political agenda that these Soros DAs bring to their job. They ignore crime and they empower criminals, and that hurts people. It hurts a lot of people every single day. These Soros district attorneys are a menace to society, and I'm just glad that I'm the only governor in the country that's actually removed one from office during my tenure. And in terms of, we are not involved in this, won't be involved in this. I have no interest in getting involved in some type of manufactured circus by some Soros DA, okay? He's trying to do a political spectacle. He's trying to virtue signal for his base. I've got real issues I got to deal with here in the state of Florida. We're obviously shutting down CBDC, which is important. We've got so many things pending in front of the legislature. I've got to spend my time on issues that actually matter to people. I can't spend my time worrying about things of that nature. So we're not going to be involved in it in any way. I'm fighting for Floridians, and I'm fighting back against Biden.
I think that this is the best approach he can take to the situation. I do think largely that he's being pressured, especially by MAGA supporters, to sort of step in there and do something about it. But at the same time, I don't think MAGA supporters entirely like DeSantis. So I can understandably, this is sort of one reason why he will be a little hesitant to do anything about it. But he, at least in my mind, calls out the DA for being a George Soros funded sort of operative in the whole situation, which is the bigger part for me, is that at least he's putting media attention on it, whereas anyone else won't even dare speak about such things. But primarily, I think by doing this, if he were to step in there and, you know, halt the police or the arrest or anything like that, which I don't really even think is going to happen, I think he would be jeopardizing his candidacy. The establishment, as far as I know, they're not necessarily in favor of him. They don't really like him. But I do ultimately think at the end of the day, DeSantis is someone who does sort of bow down to them, because there are a variety of reasons for that. You saw how they treated Trump during his presidency every time he told them to go fuck themselves. And I think that's the bigger issue here, is he probably doesn't want to be put through such extremes when it comes to that situation. But I can also see how people saw him as being disingenuous during his little speech there about not wanting to do anything and calling out the sort of Soros-funded operatives. I can see how people would take that as being disingenuous, but I really don't want the Republican Party to be split over this sort of thing. I think for the most part, this whole operation is to rile people up in the hopes of creating another January 6th situation, which is something I think the core of MAGA needs to avoid. I think they should, if anything, you know, picket with signs and banters and not firecrackers and twist tie handcuffs like they did on January 6th. That was kind of the reason why everyone blew everything out of proportion. I mean, being that they were breaking windows, and I wouldn't call it a literal insurrection, but they did draw a lot of attention to themselves. And I would please at least ask that you do not do that or become violent in any shape of form or matter. Please keep it peaceful, and hopefully we'll see Trump walk away from this, which I think he will, and it will more than likely vitalize him and put him on a higher regard to his loyal supporters than he already is, because now he sort of becomes like a political martyr. That is going to do a whole world of favors for his fan base. So I don't think there's much reason for you to like firebomb the streets or anything. But at the same time, I'm going to say that DeSantis is doing all that he can. He is doing everything that he can in this situation. And sure, there's a lot of things he does not want to get involved in. You can call him a coward. You can call him a staple for the establishment. You can call him whatever. But I don't think it is wise for anyone in the sort of Republican Party to start turning against each other and trying to split it, because I've said this before and I'll say it again. That is what George Soros wants. And we need unity more than anything. And I know a lot of Republicans don't like the idea of that because they like to fight each other, but that is exactly the problem. Anyways, I'm Master Catical. Thank you for watching this video, and I will see you next time.